Hey now, welcome to another edition of the Inside BS Show. Today we are talking to a guy who's going to help you be more connected. That's right. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about business relationships. We're talking about how to make yourself more valuable to others. And in the process, grow your business, grow your brand. My guest today does not want to be called an expert, but I will let you be the judge as to whether he is an expert on being connected, on getting the best of you in front of other people. Please join me in welcoming Justin Breen to the Inside BS Show. All right, Justin, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, my whole life is no BS. No BS. I'm the most direct person on the planet, and then my directness weeds out nonsense, and then attracts top people on the planet. I was in. This is a fascinating story. We talk about relationships, right? So I'm in a group called Abundance 360. I'm very confident saying it's one of the top entrepreneurial groups in the world. At the level I'm at, I don't care about revenue at all, but most people do. At the level I'm at, 99% of the folks are running $10 million to $10 billion companies. So, okay, I like to be in a room like that or I get bored. And we had a discussion, a meeting in the Metaverse in a virtual room on my desktop. So I was not zooming, but moving around. Is like my head in a video form with my name under it, going around this room. Ray Kurzweil was the speaker. He's one of the top futurists in the world. And I came across somebody and we started talking in the Metaverse, and then we had a side chat on LinkedIn, and I sent him my Calendly, and then right after this interview, he and I are meeting in Zoom to create a real relationship. So Metaverse, LinkedIn, Calendly, Zoom to create a real relationship, because as technology gets, amazing technology, real relationships are a constant that will never change. So I thought that was an unbelievable thing of like in real time about what's going on in our world.
So you basically, from what you just told me, you like the technology aspect, but your focus is taking that technological interaction and getting into a real scenario where there's a one-on-one connection.
Oh my God, that is such good simplification. Okay, so just as background, that's one of the better questions and simplifications I've ever heard, and I've done hundreds of interviews since becoming an entrepreneur 5 years ago, so that's really good simplification. But I was thinking about it. The 5-year anniversary of me starting my entrepreneurial journey is tomorrow, in real time, February 10th, and I haven't done outbound sales or gimmicks or marketing in years. I just connect top people in the world to top people in the world, and then they connect me to other top people. Some of them want to hire my PR firm, and then others want to join my invite-only connectivity platform. But I was thinking about it, why this has happened, why it's happened, because I'm floating around up here thinking things in a much grander vision than landing the plane stuff. That's why I don't like being called an expert. I just don't. I'm an expert in simplifying patterns, I guess. But one of the main reasons why it's been successful is because I immediately embraced new technology and utilized that to create real relationships. So when COVID started, I posted on social media, this would be the greatest opportunity for anyone with the right mindset. I mean, anyone with the right mindset. COVID's provided the single greatest opportunity of our lifetimes, and probably ever, certainly in human history, for people with the right mindset. I mean, my first company profits have quadrupled. No outbound sales, global company that only partners with top people around the world are the ones who will make the investment. Created a second company with a person I've met in person one time. He's in San Francisco, I'm in Chicago. And the only time we met in person was at a launch party that I threw in downtown Chicago. That was fun, but it's just by embracing new technology to create real relationships. And real relationships has nothing to do with being in person. That's totally meaningless. I don't think you and I have ever met. I don't think we have. Okay, so this is a real relationship. It doesn't matter that it's on this platform. That's meaningless.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. I was a partner at a huge consulting company, and it was very common for us to meet the consultants that we were working with the client with for the first time in the lobby of the client's building. And, I would talk to them 100 times. We would have back in the day, it was really expensive to have video calls. We would have really expensive video calls. So I could recognize them when I actually saw them in person. And then I would meet them in the lobby for the first time. We would talk for 5 minutes and I'd say, okay, let's go pitch the client. And but my relationship was no less real because I had never met them. It just so happened they were in India and they were not going to come all the way to the US until we were sure we had a really good shot of landing the client. I mean, so the definition of a real relationship for me, Justin, and I want to hear what yours is. For me, it's the exchange of value between two people who want each other to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you think, and we're both simplifiers. All my brain, I don't know why it works like this, but it does. I just hear blah, 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 and then immediately simplify it into patterns. And then more importantly, I actually do something about it. So I hear blah, 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 simplify it into pattern. And then most people never do anything with that knowledge. They never take action. I am very little talk unless someone's asking me questions like this. I am all action. I am no BS, all action. All action, because talk was meaningless without doing anything about it. So, but I can answer your question with that background because if you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network and creates the right opportunities. So whether it's the same values, to me, it's the same mindset. So my brain immediately attracts the people with the right mindset who won't waste my time. They'll make investment, take action, and then I connect them to other people that won't waste their time. They have the same values. They're not going to waste someone's time, and they'll create value for them. They'll create value for them. And there's because again, my brain turns it into patterns. I don't know why, but when you start a company, it's get to get. So I reached out to 5,000 people to get my first 5 clients. Then it's get to give. You're mostly getting, but you're giving a little. Most people stop at that, or I think really most people stop at step 3, which is give to get. So they're giving, but really they're still trying to get a little. The point I'm at, and the only people I talk to, they're give to give, but only to the people who get it. So I'm constantly doing intros. Whether or not that comes back to me, I don't care, but it's only to the people who match my values and mindset. Because if you give to someone who doesn't get it, not only does it damage you, but it damages the people who do get it. Because the people who do get it do not want to talk to people who don't get it. They don't want to deal with that. So those are the 4 steps, and most people never make it to the 4th step.
Okay, so help people understand, and I think I understand it, but I want you to say it again so that the people who are watching, the people who are listening, really get it. How can we sniff out? How can we sniff out the people who really get it? Because I've given to people over the years. I've given to people, yep, and not gotten anything in return. But now that I'm a more mature business person, I stopped expecting anything in return. And that's when people surprise me. And the people who surprise me are the people who I never really expected to get anything back from.
Right.
So is there a way, Justin, to sniff it out so that we know? Or do we just have to keep giving until somebody gives back?
Okay, so 1, you get it. 2, my directness weeds out nonsense and attracts greatness. And in my ultimate litmus test, this is my litmus test, because I can talk to someone now, and most of my day is talking to the world's top entrepreneurs. No, that's most of my day, okay, besides hanging out with my family. So if I talk to someone, and within 5 minutes, I'll know. And I realize they're going to take time away from me and my family, I will never talk to that person again, ever. And that's my entire litmus test, because I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur who happens to be a dad. So the thing I hear most when it is one of those people, which by the way doesn't happen it rarely happens now, because people who get it introduce you to people who get it. They don't introduce you to people who don't get it. But if it does happen now, and it certainly happened a lot at the start, but it's if someone asks what do you cost or charge within the first 5 or 10 minutes of a conversation, they're living in transactional. They're living in transactional, not transformational world. When someone asks, what does an investment with you look like? And that's really a solid differentiator, In terms of like landing the plane kind of stuff, that when I first started, that's what I would hear more than often. What do you cost or charge? And I just don't talk to people like that.
So I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm sure you know this guy, but it's a hysterical, in my mind. It's still a hysterical story, and I aspire to be this guy one day. So I'm in a project with a bunch of people, really really smart people, and it's a corporate project. And I don't do these type of projects anymore, but I'm in this project, and one of the guys who I'm in the project with says, I'm going to bring in one of the best minds in entrepreneurial marketing today, and he's going to give us great ideas. We're going to get him on the call. And the guy, and Justin, I'm sure you know him, is Alex Mendosian, right? So Alex comes on the call, and the executive vice president of marketing for this massive company goes into this 15-minute soliloquy, just a whole, bunch of crap. And Alex says like 4 words. He says, "Thank you for inviting me on the call. I cannot be helpful. Have a good day." And he hangs up. and the guy goes, "Hello?" The marketing guy, "Hello?" I'm like, I think he's gone.
Right. Yeah. So I don't talk to people like that. And here's what's interesting. I'm almost done with the manuscript for my second book. First one's Epic Business. Second one's called Epic Life. And then Peter Diamandis, who's one of the top entrepreneurs in the world, he's doing the foreword. Okay. So that's what I mean. Talk is meaningless without doing anything about it. And there's a couple chapters that relate to exactly what you're talking about, because talk is meaningless without knowing what you're talking about and doing something about it. So one of the chapters is Time Vampires, Avoid Them Like the Plague. That marketing person was a time vampire because they're talk with no action. Their talk with no action. I'm very little talk with all action. Again, unless I appreciate you interviewing me, but I actually don't like to say anything. I just like to act. The other one is Nick Saban. He's won 7 national championships, more than anyone in college football history. And he did a speech why his teams were successful. And in his speech, he said, mediocre people don't like high achievers, and high achievers don't like mediocre people. So I just hang out with high achievers because those are the only people that understand what I'm talking about, and they would never waste my time with a 45-minute soliloquy like that person did. They would never do that.
All right, so help us. So there are people listening, people watching now for whom this message is going to resonate. How did they get in the room with high achievers? Because maybe they're starting their business.
No. Okay, so I started my first company with zero business background. Zero. I never took an entrepreneur class in college. I still don't know what an S-corp is because I think that's funny. I'm actively not trying to learn what that is because I think it's funny, and I'm like a child. And everything to me has always been an investment. Always. So the first group I joined was $200. No one understood no one understood what I was talking about, but it was still a good investment because I learned that people in that room had no idea what I was talking about. Then I joined $500 a year. Then it was $2,000. Then it was $5,000. Then it was $10,000. Now I'm into $25,000 plus. I'd easily invest $50K to one's strategic coach, one's abundance 360. I'd easily invest $50K. Easily to be in those, because in those rooms, those are the only people that really understand what I'm talking about. But my point is that everything's always been an investment. It's never been a cost. Never. Nothing has ever been a cost. And at the highest level, there are no excuses, only investment. So people that make excuses, how do I do this? No, you do it. There are no excuses at this level. Now that guy you mentioned hung up the phone after 3 minutes, I can't help you. You either can do this or you can't do this. There are no excuses at this level. Figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we make the investment and we get in that room with the high achievers, right? We have to be clear on the value we can provide to someone else before. So it makes sense to be clear on the value you provide before you get in the room, correct?
Usually I know the answer to questions. That one's a really interesting one. That's a really interesting one because I actually don't overthink anything. And one of the biggest reasons why I've had this global success very quickly is I don't overthink it. I just take action. I just make the investment. and then I learn from that whatever happens in that room, and then I actually do something about it. That said, to go into a room with no background, I don't necessarily know if that's the best plan. But my point is, I'll just make the investment and then learn from whatever happens. Again, that's why COVID's provided such a great opportunity, the greatest opportunity. It's this uncertainty that's created all these opportunities to collaborate. And since I had made all these investments and I didn't overthink it, and then I had learned from all those investments, then I was in a position where I could take action. So overthinking and not making the investment is something I wouldn't recommend, but at least having some type of knowledge, something where you can provide value. I think to your point, which is a good one, where you can provide value first. I'm constantly give to the people who get it. Constantly. I don't care if it comes back to me, great. It doesn't matter. I'm constantly providing value because I'm at that fourth level. And if you can't give to give, if you're just kind to give to get, then making those big investments in those type of rooms, probably not the best idea.
So there's an interesting point to what you just said. So I said, hey, listen, you got to know what value you're going to provide when you walk in the room. After listening to you speak, as I reflect on it, when I enter rooms like that with people who really know what they're doing, I think to myself, going into the room, I thought I was going to provide X as value, but once I'm in the room, I realize
you realize what your gift was.
Yeah. I realized that, hey, listen, that's not the value these people need. The value these people need really is this. So I got to go figure out how I can deliver that value.
Okay, so that's interesting too. You actually transformed what your value, how you wanted to provide value. That's interesting.
Well, because that's what business is about. My business is not about what I can do. My business is about what you need. If I'm clear about that, then I got a business. If I only want to provide what I want to provide, that if the world doesn't want that, I'm broke.
See, and that's where I'll flip the script. Because the most insulting question I receive is, what do you do? That's because nobody cares about what you do. They only care about who you are. But again, real relationships and sharing stories with the world, that's all my companies provide, is real relationships and real connectivity. And I'm just the buyer. Like, if people don't want that, that's fine. But there's endless abundance for people that do want that. So I completely stay in my zone of genius. By the way, continuing to raise investment levels, because that weeds out people that make excuses and just attracts people that will make the investment. And I have found, because I'm a simplifier into patterns, is that bigger investment leads to smaller room. But in that smaller room, the people are making bigger impacts. So I just keep making bigger investments into smaller rooms where the people in that room are making bigger impacts. That allows me to have biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, my wife and 2 young sons, where I can make biggest impact. And I have found what my companies provide, there's endless abundance in that, endless. And if people don't want that, that's on them. I'm just the buyer of the people that do want that. They pay my firms, but I'm not selling anything. There's nothing to sell at this level. It's all being the buyer with other collaborators.
Oh, look, I think we're saying the same thing, but in order for you to realize how valuable what you have is, you had to walk in a room for the first time and talk to someone, and then a light bulb went off over your head. Right? There was the first time you didn't go in going, hey, listen, I'm going to connect you to 10,000 people or 3 people who are super value. Somebody said to you, I would love to meet X. And you were like, I know that person. I can do this. And that's when you realized you had something of value. So for somebody who's going in, let's say you were a widget manufacturer, you were going in and somebody said, hey, I would love to meet this guy. You knew you could make that connection. All of a sudden, you're the connection guy. You're not the widget manufacturer anymore because the market said to you, this is what we need. So now you know what your value is. Yeah.
Well, so that's the fascinating part. And you can never learn that unless you make the investment. And that's my whole point. If you don't take action, you can't learn anything. You can't You can't actually find out. And that's why if people make excuses, there are no excuses. You make the investment. Overthinkers are under-doers. And again, I've always had mentors on this journey. Over 80% of people, when they start their companies, they don't have mentors. That's in my first book. I cited that, and that's horrifying. That's pretty horrifying. But one of my mentors, at the very start of the journey, because I'm a good learner and then I do something about it, he's like, oh, getting people in PR, which, I'm world class at that. I was a journalist for 20 years, created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoy me for 20 years. So in terms of that, world class, have global clients, top people on the planet. Okay, so, but that's not my true superpower. My true superpower is simplifying all this complexity into patterns and then actually doing something about it and then connecting people regardless of media. And then new company is just technology for my brain for what I'm already doing, because I'm in the right room where I made the right investment and found the right people to collaborate with. So it's all a great circle that just keeps evolving because I took action. All because I took action. Didn't overthink it, didn't waste time, actually did something about it.
Okay, so I want to go into your investment philosophy in a deeper way, and I will phrase the question very specifically, because too many people have a problem with elevating their game. My focus with my clients is always hang on. My focus with my clients is always, hey, listen, I don't want you to be middle market. I don't want you to be even top middle market. I want you to be at the top of the spectrum. And I want people to wonder about the value you're going to provide because you're so expensive. And there's a reason for that. And I think you're just the person to share that reason with us. But I don't want you to do it just yet, Justin. I want you to think about it for 1 minute, because I have to remind people that we are brought to you by Sandrowski Corporate Advisors. For over 35 years, Sandrowski has provided expert service to people all over the United States. Now, they focus on tax planning, consulting, family office advisory, dispute advisory, business valuation. I mean, if you listen to the show, you've heard me talk about Sandrowski before. Here's the thing I want to share with you today. If you have a business and your business is productive, but you're wondering if it could be more productive, I want you to give Sandrowski a call, and I want you to have them look at your financials. And the reason why I want them to look at your financials is because they can make some suggestions to you to tweak a few things so that you can take more money home. But I also want them to look at the way your business is organized, because the one thing we all hate is taxes. Now, I don't care if you're a conservative or a progressive, you don't want to deal with a progressive accountant. You don't want a liberal accountant. You want a conservative accountant who's going to save you money on your taxes. So give Sandrowski a call. Have them look at the structure of your company. If you think you're paying a lot of taxes now, wait until you go to sell your company. And here's the beauty of the Sandrowski relationship. They can look at the structure of your company and they can give you advice for 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road. When you're ready to sell your company, they can help you save a boatload, an S-ton of money on your taxes, because they know the appropriate structure. They're experts in this, and they've been doing it for 35 years. Give them a call, 866-717-1607. The best time to call them would have been when you started your company. The second best time is today, because they can help you fix what you didn't do correctly when you organized your company in the first place. 866-717-1607. We're also brought to you by my Revenue Roadmap Guide. You want a business development plan. You're thinking to yourself, you need a bigger book of business because your boss is on your back, or you just want to have more options. RevenueRoadmapGuide.com. Enter your contact info. You can download for free the guide I use with my clients. You can customize it. It's my gift to you for listening to Justin and I talk today, for watching us on YouTube. RevenueRoadmapGuide.com. Enter your contact info. Get your free guide today. All right, Justin. So I asked you a question about the investment. And I tell my clients they got to go to the top of the market. They need to be the most expensive because they'll attract serious people. Explain to us how that has helped you in your career.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything. I just keep raising my rates to weed out nonsense and attract greatness. and people at the highest level. Oh, sorry about that.
There's somebody right now who wants greatness. They're calling. They're ready to invest a ton of money because they want greatness.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a God wink. But let me silence my phone too. But like, it's funny because I'm glad you had that break, because there were so many things there that were said that I can understand. So I am not a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. And there's fundamental differences. Because I see the patterns. So business owners care about revenue, office space, employee count. And then entrepreneurs like me, they care about profit, purpose, spending time with family, real relationships. I have no intent to ever sell any of my companies, because it would literally be selling the purpose of my life. And business owners are trying to change their world. The true entrepreneurs I talk to, they're changing the world. And I only partner with people changing the world, because otherwise I get bored. Because their world people are complaining about stuff that I don't understand. I'm not a their world person. I'm a the world person. And then what has happened is, because I've raised investment rates to be part of my companies, I've weeded out their world people, and only attract the world people. And the world people love hanging out with the world people, collaborating, not competing with anyone. At this level, I love these questions, and I love the background, because at this level, there's no competition, only collaboration. People landing the plane, they're like, "Oh, you're in the PR space." I'm like, they're like, "Oh, this is really competitive." I go, "There's no competition. I'm not competing with anyone. Endless abundance at this level." And I've quantified it. The people that I partner with, it's not the 1%, it's really the 0.1%, the 0.1 out of 1,000. And that has nothing to do with how much money they make. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with their values and their mindsets. And I only partner with people who have abundance, visionary, investment mindset. So there's no what do you cost or charge, there's no scarcity, there's no overthinking to not join the right room and make the big investment. There's just action. There's just let's go. So it just weeds out all this nonsense. But the whole point of it weeding out all this nonsense is because I kept living what I was saying, meaning like I just raised rates exponentially. And then for my own companies, invite only, buyer, I'm just the buyer. And then I just kept making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms with bigger impacts. So doing it myself for my own companies, but then also joining rooms to represent that as well. So again, talk is meaningless without doing anything about it, and I just do it. That's the whole point.
So if you come across somebody today, Justin, who doesn't have the level of confidence that you have, or the level of confidence that I have, right? And I meet a lot of these people who by society's measure would be considered successful, but they just don't have the level of confidence that you and I have. What's your advice to them?
Yeah, so again, that's 0.1% of the population. So, and you said it right. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. So confident people love me. They love me. Arrogant people hate me, because arrogant people, the guy who talked for 50 minutes in that meeting, it's probably one of the most arrogant people you've ever met, because arrogant people think they're great at everything. I am basically useless to society besides connecting people on global level and getting people in news at high level. And then I'm really good dad, and then a decent, average, above average husband. I'm pretty good at that. So, but other than that, I'm useless. Like I don't have any other skills. I can do it. But I can barely tie my shoes. I still don't know how to hold a pencil, right? I don't know how to do it. But like, my point is that confidence attracts other confidence. And again, at this level, I don't want to hear an excuse. People that will make excuse, that's what I mean. People may make excuses. They make excuses their whole lives. And again, I simplify into patterns. I haven't met one entrepreneur at the highest level. I'm not talking about business owner. I'm not talking about consultant. I'm not talking about regular human employee. I'm talking about at the very highest level, very highest, that hasn't overcome at least one of the following four things. Most are two or three, and then I talk to a lot of all fours now. So this is entrepreneur life. Here are the four things. 1 is bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. 2, depression. 3, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine. And 4, likely and or possible traumatic experience as a child or young adult. So regular humans, consultants, business owners, they use those things as excuses their whole lives. Entrepreneur at the highest level, figure it out, execute. No excuses. That is what separates the 0.1%, whether you're a billionaire or dirt broke, from everyone else. That is what separates.
So I really appreciate that philosophy, and I think about my own journey, and I've been there with all four of them. Right. But here's the thing. I don't want people who listen to the show or who watch the show to go out and like run in front of a taxi and get paralyzed like I was, right? So if you're missing that one of the four, don't have the traumatic experience on our behalf.
No, yeah. It's not funny. It's not funny. No, do not. But listen, that is entrepreneur life. People see this sunshine and rainbows. And odds of having none of those, it's, that's just what this world is. I started first company. I'm 3 of the 4. I'm not knock on wood. I'll never have to worry about bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. But I started my first company again, February 10th, 2017. So I don't believe in randomness. We were meant to talk today. My job salary was cut in half. I couldn't find a job. 2 young children, live in the North Shore of Chicago. Pretty decent sized mortgage. So 0 business background, zero. So tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Incorporated April 16th, 2017. I didn't even know what incorporation meant. Over the next 6 weeks while I worked half salary, full time, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. So 1 out of 1,000, different 0.1% than the people I partner with now, but still 1 out of 1,000 said yes. Got 5th client, resigned the next day, and then Robert Feeder, he's top media columnist of the Midwest, did a story I'd started my own firm. So that was just to start company. So most people they're not capable of doing that. You're either born someone like us or most people aren't born like this. And that's great because the world needs more integrators and employees. If everyone was like us, nothing would ever get done. Everyone can't fly the plane. But my point is, if you are born like this, which is rare, it's very rare, then there are no excuses. There are no excuses at this level. You just figure it out.
Yeah, and I think the 4 things that you highlighted help people gain the confidence that they can figure it out. I heard years ago, it's got to be almost 20, maybe 25 years ago, I heard Dan Kennedy say, listen, if you haven't gone broke, look forward to it, because that's the point where you'll really gain the confidence to go out and do great things. And at the time, I was incredulous. I was like, what do you mean I got to go broke? But then I realized what he was talking about. And what he was talking about is some of us have to experience that for ourselves to realize it's not the end of the world, right?
Just the start.
Right. So what I do these days is, and I'm curious about your opinion on this, what I do these days is I like to talk to people like bankruptcy attorneys or people who have had difficulty in business, and I like to have them tell their story to people who've never had that experience so that they can, on an intellectual level, not on an emotional level, on an intellectual level, understand that it's not the end of the world. And bankruptcy was created to enable entrepreneurship, to give people that fresh start if the business they started for whatever reason didn't work out. It's to encourage them not to be, not to take their own life because they can get a fresh start. So the 4 things you highlighted, I think, are incredibly valuable for the people who are with us today, who are listening and who are watching. Talk to me about now your, you mentioned several times, and I'm a big believer in this philosophy that your business enables your lifestyle. Talk about how that is your mission and how that informs everything that you do.
Well, the first line in my first book, after the prologue, is if you're someone who doesn't put family first, put the book down. I can't help you. So, and Dan Sullivan, to talk about what you were just talking about earlier. Dan Sullivan, I'm very confident saying he's the top entrepreneurial coach who's ever lived. He's 77 now. He co-founded Strategic Coach, which I'm very confident saying is the top entrepreneurial group in the world. I've been very blessed to be in that for the last couple of years. So he was divorced and bankrupt on the same day. Mid-30s, divorced and bankrupt on the same day. I only laugh because, think about that.
He got it all over with.
He got it all over with. But I honestly think to get to this level, you have to understand the very bottom. Before you can get to this level. That's why I haven't found someone who hasn't gone through all four of those things, or will, at least one of them, because you just can't.
COVID has checked off the anxiety and depression box for just about everybody. So,
not people with the right mindset, though. That's my point. It's been the conversations I'm having. I've known people that lost 100% of their business in 2 or 3 days. This is one of the chapters in my new book. That 2 or 3 days lost their entire company. Figure it out. So they started a new company, pivoted, created digital platforms. They've had their best, my first company, it's record profit, over and over, because I just attract people with the right mindset. So I do my wife had COVID. She was upstairs for 14, she's a pediatrician. She had COVID. She was upstairs quarantined for 14 days at the end of 2020 while I was watching my 2 children. So if you've seen Animal House, that is what my house looked like after that, because I can barely take care of myself, let alone my kids. But again, people with the right mindset, this has been the greatest opportunity, ever. And I just can't imagine something a greater opportunity than this. But, entrepreneurs at the highest level, they look at bankruptcy as like a badge of honor. That's what it's not a bad thing. It's like, oh, okay, I learned from this, now figure it out and make something better. And again, the best day of my journalism career was also the worst day when I had job salary cut in half. So that was the worst day. That was the worst day and the best day, because it led to this. That's not even in the top 50 worst days of being an entrepreneur. Sure. That's not even in the top. Yeah, so most people can't handle this. They can't, and that's fine. That's why they fizzle out, or they stay small. They don't think globally because they can't. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But to get to this level, without going through that kind of stuff, I don't see the exception. I don't see it. I never answered your question, but I was thinking about your previous one, and there was so much meat there that I thought I'd interject.
I appreciate it. All right, so I want you to give some thought to the 3 things people should take away from our time together today. Give us 3 big things, but do it in just 1 minute. Folks, I need to remind you that we're brought to you by Sandrowski Corporate Advisors. For the last 35 years, they've been helping people make sense of the numbers in their business. They're truly a CPA firm with a different perspective. Let's talk about their forensic accounting capabilities right now. If you need help going back into the records of your business, or you're buying a business and you need help getting to the bottom of the numbers in the other business, Sandrowski can help you. And here's the reason why you need to bring in somebody from the outside. Let's say you have a partnership and your partnership is splitting up. These things happen, right? But your partner was responsible for taking care of the numbers, taking care of the books. And the partner says, okay, here's what the business is worth. This is what I'm going to pay you. Now go away. And you don't think that's fair. You got to give Sandrowski a call, have them come in, have them take a look at the numbers, have them dig in. If your partner was right, he shouldn't care if you have Sandrowski come in. If your partner wasn't right, you're going to be glad Sandrowski came in. It's going to be the best thing you ever did. So give Sandrowski a call, have them reach out to them and have them look at the books. Now, if you're involved in litigation, Justin just mentioned Dan Sullivan, who was divorced and bankrupt on the same day. Well, maybe when he was getting divorced, his spouse had some money stashed aside that he didn't know about, and he wanted to get to the bottom of it. His lawyer should have called Sandrowski. Sandrowski could go into the numbers, take a look at what was going on in his life and his business. Now, I'm not saying Dan Sullivan did this. I'm just using that for the purposes of getting through this spot. So Let's say you're getting divorced and you want to make sure you're getting everything you need to get. Give Sandrowski a call. They will make sure you're getting what you deserve because they know the numbers inside and out. 866-717-1607, 866-717-1607. Also, remember, I got a free gift for you. If you haven't downloaded already, I don't know what you're waiting for. RevenueRoadmapGuide.com. Enter your contact info. It's your free business development plan. It's my gift, Justin's gift to you for being with us today. Justin Breen, the founder of Brepic, is with us, and his phone number is 773-910-2888. 773-910-2888. Don't waste his time. Don't call him unless you're ready to take your game to the next level. All right, Justin. What are the 3 big things everybody needs to take away from our time together?
Sure. It's a great question. And I will never get divorced, ever. Thank God I married someone like my wife is the exact opposite personality. She's loving, kind, warmth, empathy, rules, order, all that stuff. And then I'm just floating around. So thank God for her. But the three things, one is only do what you like to do and what you're good at. So I don't do anything that I'm not good at or don't like to do. I just hire someone else or find someone to do that for me. 2 is only partner with people who look at things as investments, not costs. If someone asks, what do you cost or charge, I'll never talk to that person again. And 3, when you start a company, it takes 2 full years to figure things out. So it's not 2 months, it's not 6 months, it's not a year and a half, it's not, a year, it's 24 months. Yeah.
That's great. Those 3 things are fantastic. It's been over 15 years for me, and I'm still trying to figure things out. Every day is a new adventure. Justin Breen, it was a pleasure having you. It was so great. This is a great conversation. We will absolutely do it again because it's probably the most fun I'm going to have today. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate these great questions and your audience as well.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Inside BS Show. My name is Dave Lorenzo. We'll be back here again tomorrow with another episode. Thanks for joining me today. Until tomorrow, here's hoping you make a great living and live a great life.